kind of where you're at?
Yeah, sure. So essentially what I did is I took the Messenger framework and just sort of rewrote it. Well, not too much, but sort of just adjusted it more for the mortgage niche. And since then, I've pretty much started all the conversations that I've been having over the weekend. So far, it's been about 10 or 15 so far, and I've just been running them through the framework. I'm finding it's the framework's a lot. It's sort of helping a lot in terms of just keeping people on track instead of getting lost in people's stories or and I've particularly people have been sort of opening up a lot more because it's just I think it's good because it's structured in the way sort of I'm reaching out to them and find like things. So we'll put you into the mortgage niche, then they're opening up about that. And then so they're saying, so how's your mortgage journey going so far? And then they sort of continue on and sort of that's sort of their current situation, so you can get an idea of that. And then that's sort of where I move into, or like, just curious, what's the biggest, challenge you're facing right now? And then they're sort of going and through that pain part, and then just taking them through that process and walking them through the different phases, and I'm able to sort of qualify them better through Messenger now. So far, I've been disqualifying people mainly because they're already like really busy they already have a bunch of leads that they're working with, or they're at full capacity and they're looking to hire people. So
Yeah.
I've been targeting people that are successful, but I probably need to get a little bit better at adding friends. Just sort of front loading. It's like, okay, maybe people that are a little bit younger, not too like people that are over 50, probably not quite a good match. I sort of figured out. And I guess really just I need to sort of get a bit better at the inbound stuff because I'm an outbound aggressive type of guy.
Hmm.
So pretty much I've applied the messenger frameworks mainly to people that I've added as friends and then started conversations with, started building rapport that way. So what I'm sort of hoping to do over the next couple of days now is just to post, make some more value posts on my wall, post a little bit more in targeted groups, and start to get people coming to me a little bit more as well.
Perfect.
Obviously through leads through the
Yeah.
lead magnets and stuff like that. So
Perfect. Well, that's good. Yeah, that's the useful thing about the framework is it's really easy to get lost in a conversation without a guide. And then before you know it, there's really no rhyme or reason to the conversation. And so that's really good that you're using that. And yeah, you're right. So these frameworks are going to be the most powerful whenever it works off of an inbound conversation or lead. And it doesn't necessarily have to be inbound to your box, but more so inbound as in their own personal identification with the issue. And so when it gets into creating your Facebook post, your comments in the group, and your lead magnets, then it really comes down to properly digging into their pain and putting it out there in a way that would draw attention. And once we get that attention, then we still jump right back into the framework. But the pre-frame, instead of it being a new connection, the pre-frame is kind of seeking help.
hmm.
That all makes sense, and you're tracking with that. Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, have any of the conversations led to? Have you found any of the ones that are good yet?
Yeah, I have some. As I said, the majority of the conversations that I have, just looking right now, um, the majority of the conversations is still walking. They're sort of still walking through the different phases.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the majority of them right now is in sort of creating a gap between sort of where they are right now and sort of digging into the pain with a lot of them. Because I'm trying to dig in a little bit more with trying to get them to expand a little bit on like I got to a point like it's funny sometimes people just respond back. I'm like, so where do you want to be in the next 90 days? And someone's like, I want to be on vacation.
Yeah.
That's sort of like, it's it's cool that, like, okay, I sort of have a question that I'm trying to lead them onto, but people aren't always, in that sort of mode.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Let me pause you right there. So in that particular sticking point, that's where the inbound versus outbound will come in handy, is because on the outbound, whenever they respond with something like, "Oh, I'd like to be on vacation," it's kind of like a softer, it's hard to go, "Yeah, but really, how much money would you like to be making?"
yeah,
Whenever it's coming on the inbound and they don't give me a goal, I'll use something like this, which would be, so I've found with the clients that I end up working with that get the best results, that for them to get the results that they're looking for, they need to have an actual goal. And so those with an actual goal are, infinitely more likely to hit it. And so if you were to imagine, or in a best case scenario, what would that goal be for you? And we actually pin them down to a number, especially
mm,
whenever it comes into something that we're talking about making them more money. We want a tangible number to where we can go, okay, well, you're making 5,000 a month and you told me that you'd like to be making $10,000 a month. So what do you think so far has been the challenge to get there? And whenever we have, that makes it a lot more powerful whenever we can get a real goal out of them. But it's hard to push for that on outbound in a way
mm,
that doesn't seem too pushy.
yeah,
And so that's where that'll just be one thing for you to keep in mind, that to on the one of the frameworks that I sent you, which is the opportunity pipeline framework,
mm,
that one has that line down in there. It's got the spot for, like, if they don't give you an actual goal, I've got that line in there so you can take a look at that and use that also. But that's what I've always found really good, especially if they're in the pre-frame of looking for help or possibly looking for help, to stick them to the issue. Like, well, that's all good and fine, but like, let's put a real number to it, because we're not talking about hypotheticals. We're talking about your business. And
right,
so businesses have real numbers. So I think that line, that will end up helping you there.
right.
Um, okay, I kind of cut you off in the middle of that. Do you remember where you were going before that?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, as I said, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, I mean, I'm finding that, some it's a bit of a half and half thing with outbound. You'll find people that will be open up. They'll give you numbers like, I'm doing this much production this month. And I find guys are more open to that. I don't know if it's like a male female thing, but it's just, I tried, because I'm primarily male, like, guys, I think are my niche more in the mortgage. But I have a few connections that are also female that I've added from before, and started conversation because they've just reached out to me, and started conversations. So I've sort of been walking through with them, but I've just found that guys tend to be a bit more, you know, hey, this is sort of my monthly production. This is how many deals I'm doing, sort of with the outbound stuff. But
Yeah.
I guess I think my thing with the inbound is I'm just trying to come up with some good value posts. Like, I think, my copywriting chops aren't the strongest. I'll be like, I mean, they're
Yeah,
good.
that's for me too. That's one of the things that, like, sometimes it really takes down, like, you probably need to set out like a block of like 3 hours and a time where you don't feel drained, and sit there with the entire purpose of coming up with as many angles to draw attention as you could. And that might even be a decent way to use some of our time today, is to focus on bringing you some of those inbound conversations.
Right.
So we might utilize our time well by coming up with a, maybe 5 or so angles that you could use with post over the next few days that will
Yeah.
draw some attention. And then those same angles can be created into lead magnets.
Yeah.
Do you think that would be helpful?
Yes, I definitely think so.
Perfect. Because it's, you're a lot like me. You're not afraid to get out there and just look for opportunities. So that's good. Like, a lot of people are afraid of rejection, afraid of the conversation, somebody thinking they're spammy or whatever. We don't want to be, obviously spamming people, but also some of those conversations, that you have that turn into decent conversations where they are willing to give information, like those are all super useful. And so let me pull up, I'm just going to pull up a document here.
Which one is that? Is that
I'm just pulling up a blank one to take some notes.
Okay.
And you can.
Oh, are you recording? Because I just found that my recording software didn't have the system audio recording last time.
Yeah, so, I am recording right now.
Okay, cool.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and think, we're going to come up with some ideas. So let's first, let's go into a few different categories. We're going to list some of the things your market has tried. Has tried already. Noise in the market. Some limiting beliefs. Some of their greatest desires and their greatest fears. Let's talk about greatest desires first. And so, what would the mortgage broker say if he could design his perfect world that said, like, in a perfect world, what would their situation be? It would be like quality leads coming in that they don't have to work really hard for, that have a high conversion rate, that leave them more time on their hands and more time with their family and opportunities to go on vacation, right?
Correct.
And it's basically, it's almost like if you could create an offer to a mortgage broker that said, hey, guess what? I'm going to put the ad spend up front. I'm going to provide you all of these leads. You're not going to pay me until they actually convert over and it's money in your bank account. And that's going to be so much easier. It's going to be quicker than what you've been doing. You know, basically taking like this dream scenario that they have, and which would be like removing all roadblocks from their point of view. And so we can address like some of those single points. Obviously, if you were able to put together an offer somehow that addressed all of those things, any mortgage broker that you talk to would just be like, yeah, absolutely. I literally don't have any objections. Take my money. So what we're trying to do with our different posts is we want to have posts that like shift their paradigms. And so you want to think of your posts, like your content that you're producing out, is like it all feeding into itself. So like you might do one post that is like taking a current paradigm and shifting it within the post. You might take a desire that they have and really start pulling out the desire. Now, maybe the fact is that this perfect scenario doesn't exist, right? And obviously it doesn't. Somebody doesn't have a solution where she's like, here's all your dreams. You don't have to have anything to do for it. But what we can do is we can take their desires and we can actually start pulling that positively into a post. And so like one of your posts might be like, part of what they want is predictability and like their perfect situation. So then like you have a post on, so let's see, the greatest desires are predictability, steady income. They don't want to have to work harder for it, so easier than what they're doing. Faster than what they're doing. And like
no bottleneck type thing. So removing themselves from the business, I guess, systemizing it, automating it.
creating systems that make their life easier. So then, like a post like this would be, just for instance, you could lay out their dream situation, be like, if you're a mortgage broker, you probably wish that your practice looked something like, or that your business looked something like this. You had leads that came in that were already qualified, that were top 1% leads. You were able to do this repeatedly month over month. It actually took less of your time than what you're having to do right now. And it was something that gave you more of your life back to spend with your time and your family. Now, why that perfect scenario doesn't exactly exist, there is actually a solution to a lot of these problems. And like, that's technically what you're offering. It's like, hey, I can bring you predictability. I can bring you like scalability. I can give you back time. And so like, you can take like their desires and like put it out there like a mirror and say, this is what, does this look like what you would want? And get them to respond back, or like, this is what you would probably want, but what you know deep down is that doesn't exist. But what you might not know is that you could do, implement a certain system into your business where it did take care of XXX problems. And then have like some sort of response call to the action at the end of it, like, is that, do you relate with that? Is that something that you resonate with? And this is kind of hard just coming off the top of my head. But we can go for their desires, and then we can also go for like their limiting beliefs. So like start going for the things that you hear people.
Facebook ads don't work.
Yeah.
All leads on Facebook are bad quality. That sort of stuff. Referrals are are the best type of lead.
So like take for instance, like one of the main things that they're telling you is that I really just need real estate agents to be referring me more business. So then you can come out with a post that's like, have you ever said this? I wish real estate agents would I wish I had more real estate agents that would send me more referrals. And then you'd be like, the mistake that 90% of mortgage lenders are making right now is they're doing hope. They're relying on hope for their business, hope that a real estate agent likes them more than the next lender, hope that there's enough opportunity to go around. And what they're missing is a proactive strategy in their business to take business into their own hands, right? And something along the lines of that, like, this is what you're doing, this is what you see other people are doing, and you know that it's not working. And what help them see, the post should help them see kind of the problem and what they're perpetuating. Like they're doing the same thing over and over again, hoping for different results. And so having these paradigm shifting, or like finding what the main majority of the market are doing, like what all of the mortgage friends are telling them to do, like, well, you just need to start getting more referrals, or you need to start doing whatever. So you go after those objections. And to get them to raise their hands, it might be something like this. So everybody's telling you that you should be focusing on referrals and that you should be going out and networking with people in your area and trying to convince them to send you sales. What if I gave you a 3-step guide that you could use to start proactively bringing in, whatever your lead magnet would be? Or people are trying to convince you that you need to buy their leads all the time, or that they want to sell you these list of leads, but you know that they're really inferior quality of leads. Would you be interested in this guide that helps you understand exactly what a 8 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 qualified lead looks like in your industry? If I gave this to you, would that be helpful? And then you're going to be able to get the people that are like, yeah, that would be perfect. And you get them to raise their hands. And so Their fears, desires, limiting beliefs, current noise of the market, and things that they've already tried. Like within just those few categories, there's a lot of things that we could come up with. Let's start with an idea off of the limiting beliefs. Facebook ads don't work. So what do you think? Why do they think that Facebook ads don't work? And what would you be able to do to help them realize that Facebook ads, the thing they think doesn't work, could be their solution?
Well, primarily it's two reasons. One, they've tried doing it themselves and they haven't been able to get any seeable actual results. Two, they've hired another marketing agency or another marketer to try and run ads for them, but they didn't really know what they were doing, and they sort of like got burnt because they spent thousands of dollars and lost thousands of dollars and got no results back for it. So those are probably the two main reasons they think it doesn't work. Probably a third reason is just they think the type of people that are on Facebook just are not, the type of quality people that are, the higher end people, or what they would consider higher income, or that sort of stuff. That's probably a third minor reason, but as I said, the first two main ones are probably like, one, they've either tried it before themselves and they didn't get results, or two, they've tried working with another marketer, whether that is going into their course or into their program, or actually hiring someone to do it for them, and just didn't get the results that they wanted. So those are the two main reasons why I would say they don't think it works. In terms of sort of what I can do is sort of start a conversation around sort of digging into why they feel it didn't work. Like, what exactly did they go ahead and do? What did you have in place? How did you define what do you think a successful campaign is? Like, how do you define that success? And
so before asking them those kind of things, what are you uniquely offering, and what is the kind of promise of your offer that would be different from those people?
Well, as I mentioned before, the promise of my offer is at least offering them 15, like 8 out of 10 deals. And if I don't get those deals within the first 30 days, then I give them a money back guarantee.
Perfect.
So that's
perfect. So their number one of like probably the number one thing that they would say that they didn't, the reason that the leads didn't come through was poor quality leads. And so Facebook ads don't work because they bring in low quality leads. Facebook ads are a big risk because you can't really trust who's telling you they can get results. And they might think, if I take a risk again, there is a good chance I'll lose more money. So going through these multiple different areas and kind of listing out really where your market is at will let us build better copy. Mm-hmm. And anytime you come across somebody that you think, especially in your niche, has like good copy, like
I
follow your
already felt like
page.
two or three
Yeah.
people. So
So if
unfortunately,
you find a post with somebody in the area that gets good response, go grab their post and model yours with the stuff that you want to say into it, but model what they're doing. And so like if I was going to do like an objection handling post, you know, you could say something like, have you ever said this? Or have you ever thought this whenever somebody's approaching you about your marketing, that Facebook ads don't work because they bring in low quality leads? And Facebook ads are a big risk because you don't even know who you can trust in marketing these days because everybody's claiming they can get results. And that you're scared that if you take a risk again, there's a chance you're going to be in a worse situation than you started. And so then you could do something along the lines of one of those and then pair it with a lead magnet. Like I can't tell you how many, like, let me think. I talk to mortgage lenders all day, and the one thing that I keep hearing that breaks my heart is this: they've spent money with Facebook ad agencies that didn't give them any guarantees and delivered nothing but poor quality leads. And so that's one of the things that I took into consideration whenever I built my program, is that any mortgage lender that decided to do business with me, I was going to make them one promise, or I was going to make them these promises, that if I didn't deliver on my results in the time that we agreed, that they get their money back. No lead that I ever, all leads that I end up sending in have, are guaranteed to meet the qualifications that we predetermined, and that there is, and this is a little clunky, but that there is that I went in and I basically took care of where everybody else has been leaving them off. And then like,
essentially like qualifying them type of
yeah,
thing.
yeah. And so I'm just trying to think of like ways to get your mind going in a way that you could get them to say, yeah, that's me. So you might pose these in a question like, drop a GIF if you've ever had a marketer approach you and tell you these things, that they're going to get you tons of leads, they're going to be able to do it super fast, that they're going to be able to double your business. But come to find out, all they were doing was pouring in low quality leads. They had never stuck to their timelines, and it ended up with no money in your bank. I see this kind of thing all the time whenever I'm speaking to mortgage lenders. And one thing that they all needed was, or one of the reasons that they ended up falling into this trap was that they themselves weren't able to instantly identify quality leads from poor leads, and they ended up wasting a bunch of time. So I created this guide for you that we use in our company that ensures every lead that comes through is worth paying for. And would you guys be interested in taking a look at this so you can better identify leads in your market? And then your lead magnet should be like really strong, like for them to look at it and go, well, if this guy is saying like they have to check all these boxes before he counts them as a lead, like that would be perfect if he brought me these kind of leads, right? And so that's one way to tie in your lead magnet. What are some other lead magnet ideas that you've had? I guess you probably put those in the homework, didn't you?
I said that I was working on a few different lead
Okay.
magnets, which I am.
What were some ideas that you came up with?
So, some of my lead magnet ideas were sort of looking at what a quality lead actually looks like. The different areas to actually, define how to ensure that the leads that you're getting are, of a high, are more likely to close. Another one was sort of like addressing another thing that commonly people say to is like, I just don't have time. I don't have enough time. and sort of going through and putting together some video training on some like recommended tools for like making things easier in their business, like um, a simple follow-up tool, or just having building out a funnel, just basic stuff like that, like basic marketing stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then just showing them how it all connects together. And then at the end of that, video saying, hey, I know this sort of looks so technical and complicated and stuff like that. If you're interested in sort of having something like this implemented, or just have a conversation, feel free to reach out to me and sort of do that sort of stuff. I like video because I'm not the strongest copywriter right now. But that's sort of in the PDF form. Sort of, I want to put together sort of like a lead over the next couple of days, and putting sort of that in the sort of addresses lead quality, because I know that's something a lot of people have concerns about, and just sort of how to ensure that, what are some things you can put in place, like one, collecting, information from people, having them book in a time into your calendar, having something to follow up with people that are falling through the track, that sort of stuff.
Cool.
That sort of stuff.
Yeah, those lead magnets will be really helpful for building copy around them too, once you know what you're trying to offer them. And the more of these conversations that you have, the more you're going to start hearing common points and be able to address those. We really want, with the inbound commenting, like some of the mortgage groups and stuff that you posted in, that can be a good way of like getting some massive engagement. So if you find somebody that's asking a question about their marketing, and you can go in and like maybe somebody post like, oh, well, all you need to be doing is referrals, yada, yada. You can even go in and comment under them and like do kind of your objection handling there, and just give like lead with value and look for people to respond. And then you can instantly message them and start your conversations, or going into some of those groups and offering some of them will and some of them won't let you offer things for free, but like, hey, I came up with this quick productivity tool, if anybody's interested in it. Or even using your lead magnet there, like, hey, if you guys are tired of people trying to sell you cheap leads, I came up with this cheat sheet to show you how to make sure show you how to qualify a lead properly. And that one I think will be really big for you, because that's a big part of the whole industry, is like the people filling out applications being qualified to fill out the applications. But there's got to be some more angles. Like you'll want to be able to come up with more than just one lead magnet.
What's a good number of lead magnets to sort of be working with? Like,
say probably 3 is probably a good place. Like, and each of them kind of go at a different angle. And so the different lead magnets probably need to identify, there's multiple pain points that these guys are going through. And so, and one of your lead magnets might be more to branch managers, right? So like if you're still looking for some of these managers, you might look at different sophistication level of lead magnets. So maybe you create one for people at different phases. So maybe you create a lead magnet that's for the brand new guy in his first 6 months, a cheat sheet of things that he wished this is after hundreds of conversations with mortgage brokers. Here's the top things that they said they wish they knew in their first 6 months.
Right.
So that's a good lead magnet. Here's, top 5 marketing mistakes that mortgage lenders make that if you read this now will save you time and money. Put that up. Hey guys, I compiled this top 5 cheat sheet. These are things that talking to people in the top of the industry or talking to professionals in the industry have said were the most valuable things. And maybe some of these conversations you try to get lead magnets out of the conversation. So like, maybe it's a conversation where a guy's doing really well and he's already been opening up and talking to you, but he's like, man, I've got more leads than I can handle. It might be valuable to ask him a question like, just for my research purposes, what's the number one thing you wished you would have known as a new broker? or what's the number one thing you would wish you would have known while you were trying to get to this phase where you're packed out, and like start compiling some of those things in conversations to use. You might be able to compile one for a branch manager that deals specifically with things that the branch manager, like, here's a here's a cheat sheet to increase
Scale
the
your
increase
branch.
the productivity of the people in your branch. So it's like, this guy's not necessarily looking for it, but maybe it's like things to help on their sales game, or something to help them identify the prospects worth following up with. Or maybe it's a 3-step organic follow-up process where you give them ideas of going in and actually taking the leads they have and nurturing them better, things like that. But trying to think around the whole process that lets them see that you're not just a guy that's plugging in ads, but you really understand their whole industry. And so maybe think about hitting those different levels of sophistication from the
Yeah,
brand
I
new
know.
guy.
I know one that sort of hits the mid-level people, because what happens is a broker will get to a point where they sort of max out what they can do personally, and then they'll hire an assistant, like a mortgage, what they call like a broker assistant or a mortgage assistant, and they help them close out more deals either by jumping on the phone or that sort of stuff. So just sort of speaking now, I'm thinking like maybe something could be like, how do you like top three qualities you need in a good mortgage assistant, or when to
Perfect.
hire a mortgage assistant.
Yeah. When's the right, the 3 signs that it's time to hire a mortgage assistant. And then
Yeah.
that the guy that's interested in that, the place that he's in, like he's getting to that place where it's starting to become curious. Um, or yeah, stuff like that. You're right on the right track with coming up with those ideas. And then whenever you come up with the idea, it's positioning it in a way. You want to position it as a question, or like sometimes controversial, like, say a bunch of people think something's like, it's really this way. Like you'll get a whole bunch of them that just say Facebook ads don't work. And you can like create a conversation out of it. Like, why do you, even putting up the question, hey, mortgage brokers, what's the number one reason that you would be scared to use Facebook ads in your business? What's your biggest, get them to like start a conversation, and then any of that conversation straight turns your conversations from cold outreach into primed with at least some bit of ability. Like you've created a conversation around their industry versus like, hey, how'd you get into this industry? Sometimes that flows fine into asking them more questions, versus if we draw them in off a conversation from a group or your wall that has something to do with their industry, then it's very natural to like, well, what's the big, so you think Facebook ads like are kind of a joke? Like what's the what's the number one thing that you found most helpful? And it's, well, I just rely on referrals. And it's like, how's that been going? Like, does it let you do the volume that you want to do, or you're still trying to figure out a way to boost your referrals? And it's like, yeah, well, I want to be doing more, and I've been trying to boost referrals, but, and it's like, then you can start going into, well, in the next 3 months, do you have a plan for getting that figured out? Is this a priority for you? It's like, yeah, it's, if I could have done it 6 months ago, I would have liked to do it. And it's like, well, what do you think the biggest challenge is then getting those clients in if you're not getting referrals? And it's like, well, I think that, I just got to make more connections and get out there and network. And then you can respond kind of with that. Well, it could be that, but what I've seen with a lot of people in the industry is that they end up stalling out at this point and have a real hard time growing because they don't have any, they're all defense and no offense. And so, but a big problem of what they, the reason they don't want to use Facebook ads is because there's so many people out there that don't have guarantees. And like, so, but if somebody works with me, I guarantee that the ads, that their things meet this quality. And then if they're not happy with the service, they get their money back. And that's just right there in my contract. And so like handling those objections up front from a place like that will be really helpful.
Yeah, I completely understand. So, just yeah, that makes sense. I I guess I'm curious, like, because what I'm doing right now is I'm starting conversations with everyone I add as a friend at the moment. Should I sort of pull back a little bit on doing that because I'm sort of applying the messenger the or so what's the opportunity pipeline framework to all of pretty much as soon as I add
Yeah.
someone, I start a conversation. Should I be pulling back a little bit more on that and focus more on just trying to post more on the wall and getting those newer connections
I
to?
would get the newer connections. I would get them to look at your Facebook wall. Some of them, like some people, if they just respond back and it's just like short, like, hey, good to meet you, or like they don't try to engage in a further conversation, then they might be one that's better to let go than push them through
Mm-hmm,
the framework. And ideally, in an absolute ideal situation, that all of your leads would come, you'd be adding them into your network every day, and then all your conversations would come from people engaging in content. Because that's the best frame that these work from. And because that's from the framework of them starting admitting that they, in some area, have some need. And that sets up the whole conversation better. So focusing on, because you already have all the information you need. You already know their problems, you know the solution, you know their objections, you know what they've done, you know what they haven't done. And so you need them to know that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you need to understand where their mind's stuck and what you could say to help them start thinking about it in a different way. So if a big thing that you're going to, if your number one obstacle that you're coming up against is the fact that mortgage lenders are jaded to Facebook ads and that you're a Facebook ads guy for mortgage lenders, then your number one task is going to end up being busting that trust bubble of you're just another guy trying to sell me something that I know doesn't work. And if that's their mindset, it's going to take some content and some trust building to start moving them from that. Now, your ideal client doesn't have that mindset block.
exactly.
So, what you're really looking for is your ideal client, like the person who's ready to go, they're ready to move, they haven't been burned, they've got some money, they're just looking for a guy that they can trust that's got a system to work, and that's perfect, right? So we want to keep that in mind. But when moving people out of objections, you've got more work to do. And so that's going to be through your content. And so whether it's videos, you could do like interview, like you could find a mortgage broker that, would possibly be down for like an interview on your page where you can like ask them like the common mistakes in the mortgage industry. And like you want to start building your brand as in you're immersed in the industry. So like you can repost things from other brokers. You can, like I said, I would go to people who are doing what you're doing or in the industry, and I would, if they got copy that like gets really good results, like I would go and mimic and reproduce their copy. um,
Started doing that. Yeah.
yeah, and so, but your content, anything that people are engaging outwards in and actually having to press a button, hit comment, you want as much engagement as possible, and you are slowly starting to try to shift paradigms. You're starting to create engagement. You want somebody to read your post and go, yeah, that's how I feel. Yeah, that's how I feel. Oh, I never really thought about it like that. That's kind of like you need them to, if they're in that place, they have to have that shift or they're not going to be a good lead.
Yeah.
And part of that is going to be through proper objection handling, or, most likely they had a Facebook guy that just was like, I'm going to go for mortgage brokers. It's high ticket. And they never took the time to get to know the industry. So you can simply set,
100%.
you
Yeah.
can simply set yourself aside by knowing their industry, by knowing things like hiring a broker assistant, by putting out content that like is relevant to them, whether or not they do Facebook ads or not.
Mm.
So like you're an expert in the mortgage industry and you can help mortgage experts get more things because you understand it so well. The ads part, anybody can run ads, not anybody can understand an industry inside and out. And
Mm.
that's the difference you need to have is like people are like, if somebody asks you what makes you different, it's like, well, I know everything about your industry and I implement it and I know I know your objections. I know the things that you've had to go through. I know that you've spent money with people on $7, $20 leads that ended up for nothing, that wasted your time. I know that, there's all kinds of people out here pushing down your doors that have no idea what you really do for a living. Like, but I took the time and became an expert in this. This is all I help with. And that, I back my work up with a guarantee, and that I, check out this lead sheet here. If and whatever it would look like, it would be nice if it's like a good looking graphic to where they can see like, okay, like if they're a 10 out of 10, then they can read down it and go, they have this, and they would go, okay, that's perfect. And so whenever you go, the only leads that I would ever send you, like, we're basically going to set up a base amount of leads that you want. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to provide those leads in the amount of time provided. And all of those leads, you can hold me accountable to those leads with this resource here. And if they don't meet it, like, I'm putting it in your hands too. Like, I'm not going to try to argue with you whether a lead was qualified or not. If you send back somebody to me and was like, well, they actually didn't meet these qualifications, and you're like, perfect, I'll make sure to send somebody to replace them that does. Now, as far as delivery out on that, since it's kind of a new offer and you've only had people run through your, kind of your trials on it, you'll, basically the burden will be on you at that point to make sure that you're putting together a system that can actually provide those kind of leads. Because the last thing you would want is to have like a really strong guarantee and then for some reason not be able to
I've already done that.
On it. Cool.
I've already put together. It was pretty simple. It's literally just lead scoring, just based on it. They fill in a survey. If they have fill in good credit score, that increases their score. If they have bad credit score, it decreases their lead score. So, that
Perfect.
That wasn't too hard to do. It's just I didn't have a guarantee in place. Well, I wasn't charging a fee. So
it's hard to guarantee.
There was no point having.
There's no guarantee for free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
cool, man. It sounds like you've done the work that a lot of people don't do, and so I'm confident that you're going to be able to kill this. I think part of it, like, you've got the work ethic to go out and get the people. So I think just approaching this from like having that lead framework where you don't get lost in it is really helpful, to where anytime someone comments or asks for a lead magnet, you can know that you have an ability to get them to the strategy session. And so I would definitely make it a priority to start getting them actually on the call. If somebody seems like they have too much, they're getting a little bit resistance or whatever, you can kind of lay back on the framework a little bit and just like frame it as a kind of, we call it like a triage call, but like you can get somebody on a 15-minute chat, like, hey, I'd just like to hear like a little bit more about your struggles. Take 15 minutes aside. I'm not going to sell you or anything. I'd just like to get to know you. Would you be open to that? And then get people on a 15-minute chat. And then like you can instantly, like, one, they're going to start trusting you more now that you've had a phone call. And then in that chat, you can actually get the information you were trying to get on the call. Like, so that's awesome. I see that you're in the mortgage business and it's really good to meet you. I work with a lot of mortgage professionals. Would you tell me a little bit about how the business is going? And then just walk them right into the same framework. And it's like, oh, okay, that's awesome. Yeah, what do you think your challenges is? Okay, yeah, it could be that. It might be that there's something else going on. And then you don't try to sell them and like, well, it sounds like I actually might be able to help you, but I'm not going to sell you on this call. Or I'm not going to try to sell you, but sometime whenever we actually have some time set aside, let's set up a further call to like actually discuss this. And then that's a way to get like somebody on a soft call, build some rapport, build a connection, and then say, well, not right now, but like sometime I'll shoot you a calendar link if you're open to it. And we'll just get on like a call with some more intention and see if I can figure out what's going on. And people like it whenever you approach their business as in,
let's try to figure out what the problem is.
Yeah, kind of the attitude of, I'm not sure if I can help you, but I think I can, but I'd like to get some more information about that. And so like I do that with people all the time. Like I don't presume anything about whether or not they're actually in a good fit. And then even if I'm guessing that they are, treating them with the dignity of like, I'm not going to assume that I've got what you need, and that's not how I work anyways. So, the best thing that we could do is just have a conversation and find out, and then go from there. And if not, no hard
Right.
feelings, and we've got a new connection in the space. And I might have some clients that I'm able to send your way, or you might have some that you can send my way. So it's still worth doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure, man.
Cool.
Yeah, because I really love the way you approach sales. I liked when we jumped on that call. I sort of was like, damn, that didn't even feel like it didn't really feel like a sales, that alignment call you did with me. I was like, damn, if I can,
and the God's honest truth is I wasn't treating it as a sales call.
No, I know you weren't, but that was the beautiful thing about it. It's like, I know it's not a sales call, but at the same time, it has the same result of what a sales call is meant to do.
Yeah.
It's that alignment, that pain, that sort of thing. So like, yeah. I'm just like, damn, I wouldn't try and get to that point as well to be able to have those conversations. It's like, hey, just it to not feel like that, it's because you're digging from that deeper place. So yeah, man.
Yeah, and it can be, obviously, whenever you start getting clients and you're rolling in clients, it's easier to be in a position of, I don't really need this sale. But then whenever you're trying to land a first few, like sometimes it can feel like, man, I'm really having to hold myself back from trying too hard. And that trying too hard a lot of times is what pushes the early sales out of our hands. And exactly. So like, I always try to get my mindset in the realm of like, if I try to sell, like, I'm a pretty good salesman. And
I know you are.
If I try to sell somebody, like a lot of times, like, especially like in the retail world, when I would be in front of somebody, and like I worked for like a firearms store and helped them get like a massive amount of sales. And I worked for like a computer retail store where if somebody came in the door, like a big problem we had there with foot traffic. But if somebody came through the door, like it was pretty well known that if they came in here looking for a computer, that if I talked to them, they weren't going to leave without one. But I still did the same thing of like, I didn't presume to try to show them an expensive one. I didn't try to show them. I just started with their needs, and I started like connecting with them as a person. And it's like, well, after everything you've told me, the best information I have is that this is good for you. A lot of times I give people one option, like, this sounds like what you need. And they're looking at it and like, he heard me out. This is what I need. It meets the qualifications. Like, I didn't try to show him 20 different things and jump them all around. It's like, well, tell me what your needs are. This fits your needs the best out of everything that I can think of. And you don't confuse people. And so that's a lot of ways I approach it. Is like, I had a call with a guy earlier today, and I don't even really get nervous before calls anymore, because I really try not to treat them like sales calls anymore. I might leave some money on the table doing that, because there's people that I probably could force into like handling their objections and like walk them through and like get them into a place where you just walk them into pure silence, and like, you've got no reason to say no to me. So, and then they kind of feel awkward, versus like, usually I don't try to mention my offer to people until they ask about it. And I really just focus on their needs. I give them some help if I can. Part of what I do, which I could do better, is I tell people a lot of the hows, and sometimes don't take my own advice. Like, it's just natural. Like,
sort of solve their problem, right?
Yeah, it's like, well, just I give them 3 months worth of work to do in 20 minutes, and they're like, okay, well, I need to do that, and then I'll come back to you. So sometimes I shoot myself in the foot that way, but it also, people come back around, and like, if I tell you I'm not going to sell you on the call and I try, then you just lose all trust with me. If I say this isn't a sales call, and then at the end of the call, I didn't try to sell you anything, and then they come back and go like, well, I guess like I did want what he had, and he told me he wasn't going to sell it to me. He didn't try. And so it's like keeping that trust with people. Like, if I tell somebody I'm going to help them get X result and they give me money for it, then I'm going to do everything in my power to get that result. And I'm just trusting that that's going to keep paying off down the long run, of people referring people to me, and people getting better results, and people wanting to stay on and coach with me for longer periods of time. Like, and I kind of saw that as the noise in the market. Like, everybody, like, I've got scripts that people have paid 20 grand for as far as like call scripts. And it's like, and I've seen people use them really effectively, but then I also see now that everybody on the internet's basically been pitched by these few scripts if they're doing
Yeah, that's
anything
the thing.
online, and they're effective in the psychology behind it, but it's like, okay, well, if I want to stand out in a sea of marketers, I can't just do what everybody else is doing. And the one thing that people aren't doing is being truly authentic with people. So it's like,
Yeah.
that feels best to me. That's what people want. I can still use the same ideas, because what you're ultimately doing is finding people's pain and their need. And if you have done a job of equipping yourself with a skill set that helps them, then it's like, perfect. It's within their service to offer it to them or help them. But then if not, then, just move on to the next person.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Trying to think. So as far as what we've covered today, how do you feel so far about getting ideas on creating posts and
Yeah,
of that
I
frame?
feel yeah, I feel a lot better in terms of I think I have some good better angles to come from. I'm going to start to nut out a little bit more a few different areas that because just sort of talking, I was sort of thinking about different sort of like the different phases, like the guy that's starting out, the guy that's like needs to just hire an assistant, a guy that's already has like multiple people under them, and then sort of just start creating different lead magnets sort of around those different phases. And I'm going to try and start posting a bit more in groups without being too, hey, check out this lead magnet. I'm just going to say, hey, does this resonate with you? Or,
Yeah, the best thing that you can do in
suggestions.
groups is to go into the comments sections. And so instead of posting your own post, just go and you can either search key terms, like if somebody's go into a mortgage group and go to their search thing and look Facebook or Facebook ads and see like somebody going, does Facebook ads really work, or does, yada, yada, yada. And you'll see those conversations that you'll have something to offer to.
Can you sort of filter by engagement in Facebook ads? You can't really, can you? Because you can't actually see like, you can't filter by like ones that have had hits. Because what I was trying to do was trying to like see, like go through all these Facebook groups and see if I could find the post with the most engagement. But I wasn't, yeah, I don't think there's a way to actually.
Yeah, I think
filter.
like, so I'm like going into the consulting accelerator group, and let's say I put like organic as like a keyword.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not letting me filter necessarily by engagement, but I can see like the top one that it posts up has got 92 comments, 16 comments. And some of
Right.
them you might go in and you just look for the comments of somebody like else asking, of like, you might be in a mortgage group and some guys like also asking questions in the comments, or like somebody trying to ask about leads. Like you can just go and type leads and look for somebody, and then just like comment something on his post, like give them a little bit of value, then add them as a friend and then message them. And
Yeah.
so they'll see, oh, this guy added me, he liked me. And you might not message him right off the bat. You might just add him as a friend. And if you provide like a really expert feeling answer and he got a friend request from you, he might reach out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, just trying to find all the little different angles that you can work, and you're going to find some that feel a lot better than others. And you're almost like testing things to see what resonates better. And so you might find one group that's like super hot, like this is full of guys that are like serious about getting their mortgage broker business starting. You might even, it might not be quite right for what you do, but you could even consider starting your own group that gives like,
I
tips and
could,
stuff like
yeah. I
that.
was I was considering that. It's just it requires a lot of time and maintenance to
Mm-hmm.
sort of get that running, and
Yeah.
then you need to then start to,
Yeah,
as
that's
you
why it's smarter to siphon off of other people sometimes. And so,
yeah,
like, finding your top two or three competition, even, and especially if they're running ads, then you can go to their recent friends. So go to your competition, go to their recent friends, and then just add everybody in their recent friends, because most likely they ran an ad to them. They paid to get them into their system. That means they're already clicking and interested. And then you just go and add them and have those conversations yourself.
yeah,
And you can poach ad spend that way with some people. Just depends on how well like top performers in your market. and or just people that are doing what you're doing well. Like I'll go in, and if I want my 15 friends for the day, I can go in and find somebody who does what I do. And like, it's not like I'm necessarily trying to poach their business. They probably don't even have the business yet. They've just been going out. They went out and found them in all these different spots, and now they're in one container. And I can find, if somebody's looking for the same thing I'm looking for, now they brought them all into one place, and it's easy to find them. And then then you have mutual friends, and it becomes easier and easier to find the people you're looking for. Like you said, if you've already got 2,000 brokers, in your network, you're already doing pretty good. And so now it's to get some content in front of them that's going to start drawing out some interest from them. And so you don't want to, like you said, with the hitting them all up right off the bat, you don't want them to dismiss you as like a cold, somebody that just does cold messaging. So you want to be tactful in the way you cold message, and you don't want to burn, you don't want to burn your pool of people that are there, but start producing things that are more than just about Facebook ads. So like the startup, the guy looking to hire people, tips for branch managers, like gather information if you need to from people that are already in your network. Like you can exchange it for a lead magnet. Like with some of them that you've had conversations with, you might be like, hey, I created this resource. I'd love for you to check it out. Tell me what you think about it, if it's helpful. And then they might say, yeah, that was really helpful, so-and-so. And you could be like, would you mind if I just got a couple quick questions off of you that I'm trying to get some clarity? And then build it off of their own words, but you want to, whenever they do come across your profile, you want to be seen as like, if you're a Facebook ads guy, then you really, what you are is a mortgage broker growth guy. Like,
yeah, you don't want to be known as just a Facebook ads guy.
You don't want to be just the ads guy. You want to tell them, like, I know how to get you to the results you want to get to. One of the tools we use is Facebook ads.
Exactly. That's how I'm phrasing it right now. I'm just Perfect. Like, because people are just coming up and it's like, hey, because I don't mention Facebook ads in my profile anymore. I used to mention like, oh, are you a coach? Are you great? Like literally that's what people are asking me now. Because I'm literally just phrasing it like, that's sort of how I put myself out there now. So
one thing you might do is like try to find like articles on the industry. You can repost those every once in a while. Like if you're running out of things to post, like to keep your wall relevant, like you can find, if there's I forgot what the website, I don't know if it was Quora or the one where people ask questions on, like you can go in and type your keywords, and then you can see if like any media post has gone viral within the subject. And so the headline will draw attention, and then you can repost that into your group, post something about it, don't just post it, but give your little, value added to it, and just make it to where your profile just becomes this like resonance chamber for brokers looking to grow their business. And I think that really will be good for you if you can hit them along multiple stages in their evolution. And that might mean having a lower ticket package, or having something where you can bring in like a little more front end offer for the new guy. You might think about how you can also, if you're hitting people in a different sophistication, like, you might look at the branch managers and have a double or triple the price of the package that you have right now. And it might be designed for branch managers that want to implement this for 5 of their people looking to grow. Something like that, having an option for the more and less sophisticated people. Cool,
man.
All right. Let's see, if you want to dig in a little bit, come up with some more of these ideas, and then send some over to me.
That'll be awesome.
And then I'll help you bounce some ideas around with that, and I'll give you a little bit of time to start getting your head around what we've gone over today. And then in our last call, what we'll do is we will start going through some of the conversations. Hopefully by then you've actually got some calls starting to book in there. And if we, maybe keep a couple conversations where you feel like you lost them and you could have done something, and I'll help you troubleshoot those. And then we'll have a couple conversations where you're halfway through or you're partway through, and we can make sure your positioning's good. Cool.
Okay. Sounds good, man.
All right, man. Well, it was good talking to you, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Talk soon. Bye.